can you please give me like a list of feminist advocacy organizations that have engaged in any meaningful advocacy to address those issues? Because there are actually none.
Damn, this man came with his research, came with his facts, came with his receipts. Damn. What's good, you good looking and not so good looking people? Today's video was sent to me by one of my subscribers, so shout out to you for that. It is about men's rights activists versus feminists by Jubilee. If you have been living under a rock or you're still new to YouTube and you don't know much about Jubilee, it is a great YouTube platform that have a lot of good content. I'll put it down in the description below for you to go check out. I already know this video is going to get a few people heated, so if you are a sensitive person, just remember in this channel, we don't care about your feelings. Oh my God! We care about facts and logic, respectfully. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and don't treat me like a side piece. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get started. Why does he walk like that?
Let's go.
Tell me he doesn't look like Georgie. Guarantee you he probably plays Fortnite.
Hello.
Would you call yourself a feminist?
I would. Yes, an intersectional feminist.
What's an intersectional feminist?
What comes to mind?
Marxism?
To me, feminism is fairness.
I think that it's unfortunately misguided.
Feminism is a flawed movement.
When you hear the phrase men's rights, what comes to mind?
Aggression.
Advocating
What?
for the
Wait
human
a
rights of
minute.
man as a class.
So when you hear the phrase man's right, the first thing that pops up in your mind is aggression? How does aggression equate to man's right?
I start laughing.
What do you hope to get from the conversation today?
I would hope to get some insight and probably, if anything, agree on a lot more than disagree.
I actually hope to get a little bit more understanding of why some men think this way.
Do you
What?
think
Just like how feminists are fighting for equality, men's rights activists are fighting for the same thing as well. We see a lot of inequality towards men, but most people don't really think about it or care that much. We see it in the courts. When it comes to criminal courts, a woman can commit the same crime as a man, but she'll get less of a sentence. We see how sometimes, most of the time in courts, 90% of the time, the child goes automatically to the mother, right? We see how in society, when it comes to homeless shelters and things like that, there is a lot of homeless shelters for women, but when it comes to men, there's about 2 homeless shelters in total. Society holds men to a higher standards than women in general, right? Men have a higher rate of suicide than women, but again, when it comes to men's rights and men's issue, it's not really taken that serious in society, which is an issue itself.
We'll see.
Wow, you can feel the tension in that room.
Hi, my name is Zach, and I am 24 years old.
This is Chris. I'm 30 years old.
Hi, I'm Derek. I also like
course his
radio.
name is
I'm
Derek.
a YouTuber, and I'm also known as an incel, which is an involuntarily celibate.
Hi, my name is
If you don't know what an involuntary celibate person is, it is someone who does not get.
Aisha. I am a writer, poet, and teaching artist. Hi, I currently work in the pet health industry, and I'm 30. I'm 24. I'm a graduate student with a degree in health sciences, and I'm excited to be here today.
I get my men's rights activists on the left and my feminists on the right?
You know, one thing I like about this panel is that it seems like they are very educated people. So hopefully this is actually a very peaceful debate.
Step forward if this statement is true for you. I believe men and women are different but equal.
What do you think? Now, this is an interesting question in society that most people will say yes. We are different but equal, which is of course the politically correct thing to say, right? But just think about this. If we are different, how are we equal? Because we have advantages and we have disadvantages, right? Making us not equal. Women can do some things that men cannot do. Men can do some things that women cannot do. What we are equal in the sense that we are human, we have human rights, so we are equal in that. But aside from that, we are different, also making us not equal. I'm not equal to another man, I'm not equal to another woman, because there are some things that I can do that they cannot do. There are some things that they cannot do which I can do.
I know as a woman that I don't have the same physical strengths. Men and women are built differently. I think whenever things are built differently, it's for a reason, right? But at the same time, the amount of limits that have been put on women historically, like the fact that not too long ago we were just allowed to like start voting. Even today, like the wage gap, just all types of stuff. Like women just don't have a lot of rights that are just, it should have nothing to do with what gender we are to be able to be paid equally or
The wage gap, really? It has been debunked so many times. It's not an actual wage gap, it is a salary gap. And this is what I mean, right? The salary meaning you're earning in a total, right? It is going to be different from somebody who has been at work every single day and kept in a lot of hours. So what people want is an equal outcome, which is not possible if you're not putting in the same of work, right?
Okay.
If women were getting paid less just due to their gender, right? Wouldn't companies hire only women since it's cheaper? And it's not illegal to pay someone less based off their gender. Just think about it, where you are working right now. Do you get paid more or less because of your gender? Or do you get paid more or less because of your position and how much hours you put in?
just be treated with respect. So, yeah.
I do believe that, of course, there are biological differences between men and women. And, of course, there should also be legal equality. Of course, I disagree with the idea that women face systemic discrimination. You just mentioned the wage gap, which has been debunked so many times.
I've studied evolutionary biology quite a bit. And men and women are very...
I'm just going to put that out there. I think that he is going to be the guy that will get a lot of people pissed off on what he says.
Different from not just a physical, the bone structure, the neurological department as well.
Look at how she's looking at him.
The chemical balances. And also, I don't believe that men and women are equal under the law either, or they should be, rather. Children are not equal under the law. And it's not because we hate children, it's because we love them and we want...
Yo, she is looking at him like she just wants to strangle him.
Protect them.
So if you believe we're not equal, then that you're inferring that one would be greater than the other.
Well, so let me.
So that's what I'm
with
trying
my
to...
perspective.
Which is true. I mean, I don't get why it is hurtful to say that someone is not equal to you. There are people who are stronger than me. There are people who are smarter than me. I know that not everybody is equal.
As far as not being equal, I don't think that necessarily means inferior or superior. When it comes to certain things like roles like childbearing, a woman is going to be far more productive and a lot more nurturing than, say, a man. And when it comes to doing a lot more of the heavy lifting and the work, a man is probably going to be more suited for that role. And I don't think that makes them any better or worse.
Right.
We are just built, created, and born different.
I would also like to elaborate. I am not saying that they are worse overall or better overall.
They complement
like
each other.
Like you said, they do.
They complement each other beautifully.
They work very well together.
We
when
need
they
each other for
proper...
offspring.
He's trying to redeem himself.
I mean, that's part of the beauty of it, and I think trying to equalize them and make them the same and, transition and all that, I don't believe is going to be the most conducive when it comes to when raising children, but also just for overall well-being.
I want to note that you brought up children being unequal to adults. I just hope you weren't comparing women to children.
I mean, it was technically a comparison of women and children.
I don't need you to protect me. I just need you not to harm me. I can protect myself. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do. Okay?
Okay, sure.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This man is an ass.
I am an incel or an incel advocate, I suppose.
We can
I don't
tell.
hate women at all. I think we're different, and they have aspects that are superior to men as well. It's just very contextual on the subject.
Toxic masculinity is real.
I think that toxic masculinity is definitely a real thing. It's kind of just the idea of what masculinity should be, but it goes wrong a lot of the times, saying that violence, sex, power, being a controlling person makes you a man. I see it in very unfortunate places, like when the young men or boys in my family, even from like toddler age, are told, you shouldn't be crying, boys don't cry. And what that turns into, I see it when I'm in a bookstore and a guy who tries to get my number says, why y'all always gotta act like that? And he sincerely had this like cracking voice, like he was hurt, but it was an entitlement. And that's toxic masculinity. It's saying like, you don't realize how your behavior is harmful.
What does toxic masculinity mean? Is it character traits? Is it upbringing?
The suppression of feeling for a lot of men, because throughout childhood they're told man up. So because of that, there's a lot of repression. Repression then is usually channeled into anger for some people because they not always know how to express because they're told not to express.
So upbringing and
That's part of it.
Okay,
Yes.
but not something that's inherently a part of,
No.
of men.
No.
Okay.
I think that, when you're showing your emotions, especially to random people, random women in some cases, they will view you as weak. I was raised by a single mother. I love her. She's my mom. I love her. But I could have used being told to act like a man. I think back, there were some cases where I was too emotional, and that negatively affected how I, what happened to me. And
May I ask a question?
I mean, he does have a point there, which I do believe that society does play a huge role into it, but nobody will respect a very emotional man.
Sure. What is your definition of weak as a man?
Not being as forward as you could be, not being as honest, or trying to be not as emotional as you don't need to be. You don't have to cry over a cut. I know, sometimes cuts hurt a lot, but sometimes it's necessary to be strong for the benefit of not just yourself, but for the people around you. It's fine to act emotional in certain cases, but I don't think it's fine to act that way with a woman. Maybe, you have a really good friend and he sees you cry, he's your best friend and you're crying about something really personal. I think that's fine.
I feel like you're conflating two different situations because you started off with saying random person or even women. So it feels like, okay, this is a woman that you don't have a bond with or any type of relationship with. And then you mentioned, or from your best friend, that's okay to cry. Well, that woman could be your best friend. That, so,
I don't think
and again,
a woman, so.
Oh my God!
Like I said, this man is going to be the person in the panel that will get everybody heated just based off what he says. I don't like his demeanor, but he does have some truths.
Because you don't see us as equal, as you said before.
I don't think showing emotions is a sign of weakness. I actually think it's a sign of strength. Men do live shorter lives, and that's because of a repression of emotions, and that's due to many things that patriarchy has instilled.
Men live shorter lives because of repression of emotions, really? Where are you getting all of these things from?
It has been shown that a person's well-being, their lifespan is shortened when they are not able to express their emotions. In addition, when they don't have physical touch or when they don't have a partner to keep them company. We are human beings here. We need to talk to each other.
Well, like she said, if you are single, you are going to die early because you will not have that touch.
You stupid!
And if you think that our health isn't affected when you're not able to express that you are sad or upset, you're wrong. I think that men's rights activists are only men's rights activists as a response to women expressing that they want more equality. I don't think they focus on actual men's rights issues, and rather it's just an attack on women and feminism.
Today, women have more advantages
Now this I do agree. But today, in 2021, women have more advantages than men.
I can speak from a hiring standpoint when it comes to things like affirmative action, and there are certain roles that traditionally men and women have been able to serve in, and now women can basically do all of those things, right? Because we've had such a strong advocacy for equal representation in the workplace, whereas, for example, you'll never find a man as a midwife nurse, and I don't think it's appropriate. That's why there are those differences.
Women in like the most important parts of society have an advantage. There's a lot of positions that men simply aren't getting hired at anymore because of the fact that they're a man. And it's not just in the workforce. It's also, I would say, it's a lot easier for a woman to find a relationship, even if she says it's finding the right guy is so hard. It really isn't. But sometimes for a lot of guys, finding a girl at all is hard.
For you,
If I have to consider what I wear before stepping out the house, because I don't want to draw some type of attention, I don't know how many other men have to consider, is this outfit going to be deemed safe for me? Any situations I have experienced where I physically felt endangered simply because I don't want to give my number out. It's part of that entitlement for men. You're not entitled a conversation with me. You're not entitled to my number.
That aside, it's like, are you going to make one example of the entitlement of men when it comes to asking for your number be the all-encompassing thing that all men have a problem when it comes to approaching women?
Well, firstly, it's not just an example. It's not necessarily all men. I don't dislike men. I love sports. I play video games. I have bros. I hang out with dudes. We just want men to realize.
it's literally like the one racist white person who says, I'm not racist, I have black friends. You still can like sports and things that men like, and you can still dislike men. I'm not saying that she dislikes men, but I'm just saying that her logic doesn't make sense.
That if you have friends that are having locker room talk, as a man, as an ally, please say something to your friends.
Do you think repressing that is really the...
It is true. She does have a point, and that goes for women as well, right?
solution here, though? If it's in a healthy male space...
There's nothing
I don't think that's
about
healthy.
that.
I think it's
Well,
toxic in itself.
I mean, if you're making jokes and you're doing all of that...
Jokes that are harmful jokes are not healthy because they just lead to people normalizing things. People always say, oh, it's just a joke. But when someone else hears it, they don't realize how that resonates. And again, how that turns into violence. Like, this is not an isolated situation. I'm only thinking of 3 off the top of my head because if I think of too many, I'm gonna spiral
So
right now.
what's the alternative? Men shouldn't talk about these things.
No, I think
No
men
one's
can
ever
have a
said
healthy
that.
dialogue. I don't think men have to be toxic in order to have a conversation. I know plenty of men that are able to have conversations about healthy, productive things, just like women are.
Well, it's not obviously something that I have personal experience with, but only 1% of all people on the death row are women in this country. So when women and men commit identical crimes, women are much more likely to, for example, escape the death penalty. And that's just plain sex-based discrimination.
That I agree on.
That's true. Look, I'm thinking about basic needs, like around the globe, the women who don't even have like proper like sanitary like products.
I mean, I have to agree. Just small things, like a tax on a box of tampons. Do you think I choose to do this monthly?
Right.
No, trust me. So why should I have to pay taxes when this is a medical
That I do agree on. There shouldn't be taxes on things like that.
necessity?
We're just like dismissed. A lot of our symptoms, a lot of the things we report, especially women of color, but women across the board are just treated a lot less equally.
I'd say that I'm an advocate for what I believe the role that men play in society. I believe that their views should be expressed openly, that they should be given a platform to do so, and I believed in men unapologetically and unashamedly being men as we were created.
I think in my heart that there are things that men are entitled to. I am all about human rights, and
Okay, look, when it comes to to entitlement, we all know that men are usually not entitled to anything, especially in society today. It's usually women that feel entitled to a lot of things. We all know that.
I do consider the rights of every human, but every time I hear of a men's rights activist, I hear anger and I hear very illogical reasoning, and it just boils my...
I don't know why she is getting so many things twisted. Just think about most of the feminists that you see. Do they seem angry?
That the other side does not understand my values.
I think a lot of times when a movement is created, the other side thinks that they're being attacked or think that it's some like attempt at erasure. That's not what feminism is about at all. What do you need a whole men's rights activism movement for? I'm sincerely confused.
Really?
Well, I mean, like, I will advocate for positive masculinity and what men should represent and healthy outlets for men. Like, I still think the Boy Scouts should be exclusively the Boy Scouts, for example, one of those things.
Right.
Where I would like to think that we could get some common ground is when it comes to the clear biases that are in the court system, especially in the marriage and family court system, right? And right there is what I would advocate for when it comes to men's rights.
The things that stand valid, like that I'm hearing from y'all that are like valid to me, come from a place of like, I'm treated like unfairly by the system, versus a lot of the things women are saying. It's also America and the system as well, but a lot of it is like harm from men.
How and where?
How and where what?
Where's this harm from men coming from?
Okay, it started when I was young.
Triggered
I'm
by
not
that
going to talk
question.
too long. The only reason why a man decided to stop touching me in the bookstore I talked about earlier is because he realized my husband was not too far away. And he said, sorry, bro. Never said sorry to me. That's why. And that's off the top of my head. This is why I get upset, because I'm like, I'm here to talk about like how you feel. But when you just dismiss the fact that women actually have experiences,
He did not dismiss any of his experiences. He just asked how and when.
that's when it seems like it's about more than your rights. It seems like it's about your ego. And that's where I get pissed off. Because how dare you tell another human being that their experiences, what they're telling you right in front of your face, is not valid.
Jesus Christ.
He
I
never
didn't say
said
that
that.
valid. I said how and why. I'm trying to understand.
How and why?
Listen.
Because it happened. It happened many times. It happened yesterday. It
why I'm
happened the day
here.
before.
Okay, I think some of
You could see his face. He's just confused. Like, what did I do wrong? I just asked a question and you literally got triggered and just went off because I questioned you.
that you guys are touching on, such as the court system and gender roles, are a subject of patriarchy, and that's part of what women are trying to dismantle, is those traditional gender roles.
Are there any feminist organizations that have done anything, for example, to challenge bias against men and fathers in the family court system?
Absolutely.
Can you please give me like a list of feminist advocacy organizations that have engaged in any meaningful advocacy to address those issues? Because there are actually none.
Damn, this man came with his research, came with his facts, came with his receipts. Damn.
Or whatever. I didn't come with a list of like feminist organizations, but I know actively that there are women's organizations that are trying to dismantle those inequalities.
Just one name, just one
Again, I
organization.
didn't come with a list, my dude.
There are no such organizations.
Again, learn a language
Come
with
on,
clickable
commercial?
subtitles. Choose from hundreds of foreign.
There we go.
In what ways are men's rights at risk?
I think there has been significant progress over the last decade or so, especially in the legal field. But I think there are still significant disparities that need to be addressed, such as poor health conditions, bias against men in the criminal justice system, bias against men in family courts, and bias against men in the educational system, especially in colleges.
Men and women should be allies.
Of course.
Men, unfortunately, many of them don't want to even have this open dialogue that we're sharing right now. We need men
sure?
to help be allies, to help speak to other men.
It strikes me like the way you phrase this, you almost want men to say certain things that you want them to say, as opposed to maybe actually listening to what they're saying.
What certain
Like
things would I
just
want
just kind of like men being allies, men talking to other men, etc. I'm completely okay with that, but I'm not going to repeat like feminist talking points to other men.
We all believe different things. We may be under the label of men's rights activists, but for example, I'm probably the most traditionalist person here. I think we should be allies, but maybe us being allies in a patriarchy wouldn't be so bad. You know, us going back to the past wouldn't be so bad. It would
Wait a
probably be lot
minute.
happier
All right, my
if we were,
dude. All right, man. Look, I was rooting for you. You made some good points, but at this point, you lost it. No.
Married and staying married and having kids and, you know, going to church and all that.
That's true.
While speaking to the three of you, I feel like you're each coming from different, again, just like our perspectives. It's hard to generalize. So to me, I feel like there are certain things that, even though we're not fully agreeing on it, things may get lost in translation, our verbiage may not be 100% correct, that we could at least agree on.
Can I ask one question? What would you envision would be the ideal man with the end goal of feminism as far as educating men or working to dismantle whatever patriarchy is? Like, what does that man look like?
It starts with childhood. We have to teach children as well as girls, because we're also taught, because of toxic masculinity, what a man should be as well.
I think that we just need to hold men accountable. In order to kind of make progress, we need help from people that will listen. Because let's be real, when we express our concerns, a lot of men refuse to listen, but they would be more likely to listen to another man.
Do you also feel like you have an ethical obligation to challenge other women or other feminists when, for example, they deny that men face discrimination?
I am actually very glad that I got to watch this video, because we need to have more conversations like this in society today. Both men's rights activists and feminists have one thing in common, which is they both want equal rights for each other, right? Because there are some parts that are unfair to women and some parts that are unfair to men, and what the right thing to do is to make things equally fair, right? But what we cannot do is to have conversations where it is very emotional. That will get us nowhere and actually make things worse, because we are tying in emotions versus reality, facts, and logic, which is a bad combination. And before I end this video, you know what to do. Don't treat me like a side piece. Hit that like, comment, share, and subscribe button. And until next time, stay blessed.